I guess at first, who's kind of playing summer ball and who you're keeping around to lift weights as far as your returnees?
We got a lot of guys out playing ball. They're slowly starting to get there. You know, we've only been done a week. Goodhart's actually, he's traveling to the Cape right now, and obviously Kerstad's going to play. He's got a little workout with Team USA. If that goes good, he'll play with them, and then he'll head off. If not, he'll probably go to the Cape. Kinley will sign. Ezel just signed, I think. Opitz is going to play with Team USA this summer. Some of the guys that are on the fence a little bit. Martin's going to go work out with Team USA, see how that goes. Nesbitt's going to stay here and just lift and try to get bigger and stronger. He's got a lot of work. Franklin's out in California, getting ready to play with Santa Barbara. Curtis Washington's going to go play over in a league in Illinois. Let me see here. Semester transfer last year. Kobe Boulware is playing in the Cape. He may stay in the league. He's having to split time a lot, so he might move teams, move leagues. We'll see how that ends up. I think that knocks out most of the position guys. As far as like Patrick Wicklander, he's going to just go home for a little while and then come back. He threw a lot. We're just going to get him back here and let him work out and lift. Caden Monk's off playing. Liam Henry, who didn't travel at the end of the year, is out playing some summer ball. Obviously, Campbell will sign. Ramage is going to just stay here and work out. Same with Kevin Copps for the most part. I probably missed a few. Connor Nolan's going to stay here and work out. Try to take it easy on a lot of the pitchers. Some of the Tommy John guys like Caleb Bolden. A lot of people forgot about Caleb, but we haven't. We think he's going to be one of our best guys next year. And then we had a freshman, Travis Hester. Those guys are both back working out. They both had Tommy John last year. Costi Sock obviously will sign, and Scroggins sign. So there's a lot going on there. A lot of the new guys coming in. A couple of the position player guys are out playing in some older leagues, and then some of the younger pitchers will probably end up being here in a couple of weeks to start some summer school and working out.
Hey, Dave, with Connor, he obviously was on a football ride, and that was nice for you with the scholarship loans. How does that work now? He's not with football anymore.
I guess he's still on a football scholarship until that's over with. What is that, the end of summer? You probably know more about it than I do. So I don't really know. We're working on some things there. So he always have issues with counter. The counters, we get 27 guys. So we didn't have anybody sign professionally of our incoming guys. So it's pretty amazing. But that's always our battle, but we'll work it out.
How good is that? Did you expect to lose some guys just based on, percentage?
You always expect to lose one or two. I'll tell you in a year or two how good it was, but it's nice knowing that we're going to have a good group of freshmen coming in, and we've got a couple of JC guys coming in, and maybe a transfer. We'll let you know on that down the road, but it's what you got to do to keep your program going. You got to get those good young players in there and try to get them enough playing time. Hopefully some of them can really contribute for us next year, try to keep guys happy, but at the same time you got to keep winning in this league.
Dave, is it starting to kind of flip back around where the high school guys are looking to college more?
Well, the professional draft went that way, probably more than ever this year. The high school kids are too risky for them. They're wasting a lot of money. They got kids that they're giving good bonuses to, and they don't pan out. The college kids, you get to see a little bit more of what they're really all about, how tough they are, can they handle the grind. Sometimes you give a kid out of high school pretty good amount of money, it doesn't go real well, they just forget it, let's move on and do something else. They don't fight you long enough. The kids that have been through, say, an SEC schedule 2 and 3 years, you're getting more of a realistic idea of what you're getting. Obviously you're going to give good money. The pro people are going to give money to these big arms and big bodied kids, and there's some no doubters out there, but there's some that They just don't know enough about them, what's inside them, really. And we have the same issues here. We get kids in here, some are better than we thought they were, and some maybe not quite as good as we thought they were going to be because they don't know how to work, or they don't want to work, or for one reason or another. Sometimes injury plays a part in that, but you're seeing a lot more college guys, drafted early, especially this year, than ever.
With McFarland, just kind of what's his status? And
He's going to, he'd like to go to another Division I school and hopefully get an opportunity to play right away. Obviously, on our end, we'll do whatever we can to help him get eligible right away. That's what I did with a couple of guys last year, and he just wants to play. I hadn't played here, been here for 3 years, I hadn't hardly played, and I don't blame him. He's a good kid. He did a nice job for us, just keeping a great attitude all year, and hopefully he can find the right fit for him.
When you look at where you're losing starters like first base, second base, I assume you just move Franklin over to center. Then what do you do about left?
So we have plenty of options. We have plenty of options at second. We have options everywhere. We're fine. Not going to go through all the names there because I'll probably end up leaving somebody out and somebody will get upset since they can all watch this. But when they get in here in the fall, let them all battle it out. And, I feel like there's some guys that played this year that they're going to have to fight for their spots next year. And that's what we want.
Is Goodhart possibly a position player next year?
Yeah, he got to get that shoulder healed up a little bit, and obviously he can hit with anybody on our team and with most guys in the league. Whether he could play a corner outfield spot or play some first base, defense is something that he's got to work on, and probably the confidence of his defense. I think fall is going to be big for him. We're going to spend a lot of time with him on the defensive end and see how he can, improve there with his footwork at first base. And obviously he's a pretty good target. He's almost 6'2", skinny kid, long arms and legs. He fields the ball well. He just has to get comfortable and move better over there. And then in the outfield, when I played him out there a couple of times later in the season, I thought he did a nice job on the corners. But last year was pretty well set. This year there's a few openings, and but yeah, we want to get him in the lineup. We'd like to DH somebody else. He still may DH some, but I think that we'll be able to split that up a little bit.
Hey, on Connor's decision, for long-term for him, what were your thoughts about him making that call?
Well, and it was Connor's call 100%, and his family. I think that, he's, and I'm no football coach, so I can't really tell you how to evaluate that. I just know on the baseball side of it, if he goes full-time baseball and he's just only throwing a baseball, and he's lifting with baseball and doing baseball work, long toss, just everything that goes into pitching, I really believe that his velocity is going to go up 2 and 3 miles an hour for next year. This year he pitched anywhere from consistently 88 to 91, maybe a 92. He even touched a 93 here and there. But I think that he'll start pitching. He won't ever go out of the 90s unless he wants to, or he's getting tired, and maybe get that thing up there around 93, 94, 95 a little more consistently. So with his off-speed stuff, he's got a good changeup and slider and a curveball. That would be a huge difference for him to be able to have 4 weapons like that with that velocity on that end. So I think for his future in baseball anyway, it's probably going to be a really good move.
So it's different, like with more specialization, perhaps it's just different than, say, when a Barry Lundy did it, when maybe the workouts were
it's different.
A different deal.
Yeah, I mean, a hitter, a fielder compared to, let's say even if Connor was a receiver, it would be different. He's not throwing all the time. Little different arm action, football to a baseball. Because I've seen guys that were really good pitchers in high school that also played quarterback in high school. That as sophomores, they might have been throwing in the upper 80s. By the time they were seniors, they're throwing 85, 84, and they went on and played football. I think about Tyler Wilson a little bit. Tyler Wilson was a guy that I loved him as a pitcher. He came to our camp as a sophomore, was throwing the ball pretty good. And then I looked up his senior year talking to scouts. We didn't get to see him play much because we didn't need to, because he was going to play football. And they said his velocity was down. And I just think you're talking, 7-on-7 in the summer, throwing the football in the fall, summer, spring ball. it's hard for those kids at that position to really excel. A lot of the quarterbacks that we recruit, they also play shortstop or center field, and then they get here and that's all they do. You see a big jump there, maybe in their arm strength. So I think with Connor, everything's good there. He's physical, he's smart, he's got good mechanics. If he stays healthy, he'll have a really good spring in 20.
Cops, do you look him as a starter or a closer?
Yeah, we're going to give Cops every opportunity to start. We already know he can be a middleman, a guy that can come in. He's really good at that as well. He could close some games, but I think when you're looking at closing, maybe we could look at a guy like a Jacob Burton. Here he was as a freshman throwing 95, 96, but he was wild. But then he got better at the end of the year. Last spring he wasn't real wild, so I don't know what happened there. I think he's going to calm down and get a lot better. I'm hoping Elijah Tress, you saw him pitch a couple times late, and he was 94, 95. He's a freshman. He'd get 2 outs and he'd give up a single and a homer, kind of like Ford. He just needs to make that move to get over the hump. But if you're just talking velocity on a closer, those are a couple of guys you could look at. But Cops is a guy that's got a couple, 3 pitches that could be a starter.
Coach, excuse me, how did you see your freshmen develop this season, and what do they need to do in the offseason to get better?
Well, freshmen, sometimes they develop because they play every day. Sometimes they get their opportunity to develop is in practice and just being around a bunch of good players. And I think we had a mix of that. A couple freshmen got some action. A couple, 3 or 4 more freshman pitchers got some work. The one that really played a lot, Franklin, he got a lot better. But he struggled. He struggled in SEC play offensively. He'd have a bad week and then he'd have a pretty good weekend, and that's what you see a lot of times from these guys. Hopefully they'll go out and play summer ball and keep developing. Usually the biggest jumps you'll see a guy make, position player wise, is freshman to sophomore year, and usually the fear's gone, the unknown's gone. Now it's just about doing what you do, and that's play ball every day. And we figured out how we can fix a couple of flaws in their swings or make a change defensively. An example in Franklin's case, here's a guy with really good speed that should steal 20 bases easily every year, 25. And he also needs to be able to bump for a hit. He needs to be that threat where he can have the third baseman playing up on him. And if you noticed at the end of the year, they were playing deep on him. He's got to know who he is. So, you learn about guys. Sometimes it's hard to make all those changes during the season because they can't do it. Mentally, they can't do it. So, but I think some of the freshman pitchers are going to make a big jump. I think Wicklander has a chance to be special. Obviously, Connor Nolan, I feel the same way. There's a couple other freshmen in there that, maybe they were in the shadows this past year and whatever you want to call it, that I think that are going to make a jump for us. We have to have them make a jump.
Dave, can you remember having a recruiting class where you can lose a signee to the pros?
I really can't. Just figured we'd lose one. We got a couple of JC transfers coming in, and Chet Allison is a big 6'2", 220-pound center fielder, right fielder. We can play anywhere in the outfield. That had a tremendous year in California with a wood bat and aluminum bat, but he turned down a lot of money to the Dodgers, and he went to a Dodger workout, and they offered him pretty good plus school, and he wants to play in our league. Thinks he can come in and double his money, and I think he can too, maybe more than that. A lot of times when the JC kids get drafted and get offered a couple $100,000, they're gone. So we appreciate him having confidence in himself to come in here and do what we think he can do. And there's a couple others out there, but yeah, it's kind of it's interesting that we've kept some. So is that good or bad? Well, I think it's a little bit of what we talked about earlier. The scouts are a little leery about some of these high school kids, especially you're talking about a right-handed power bat. If it's a left-handed kid, they might take a little more of a shot, but right-handed, hey, we're going to let you go to college, or we're going to give you a little bit of money. And these kids want to not come to school. They're wanting more like $800,000 or $1 million, and they might get $300,000 or $400,000. and that's not what they want. So we're going to get some of those kids. We should have had 4 or 5 more kids drafted. And what the scouts are doing, they're not wasting a lot of drafts or just throwing out a draft for somebody that's awfully good, but they know they're not going to be able to sign just for the kid. And you used to see that a lot more. Now pretty much if they draft you, they're going to try to give you something and get you there.
Dave, you mentioned pretty much all year Opitz and the jump that he made. Just what's his value as far as leadership, and do you think he can make another jump hitting wise?
He's going to make a jump hitting wise. There's no doubt in my mind. You know, the plan for him was just to keep him here this summer and just have him try to put on 10, 15 pounds if he could. And then further down the road, you won't see him catch very much for us in the fall. We've got a couple of catchers coming in, young guys that we want to really catch and get a lot of time. Opitz catch every now and then, but really just try to keep him real strong. And but now he's gonna go play for Team USA, and they've been following him a lot lately. I think they feel like that he could be the best defensive catcher out there. That's a junior to be. And you know, he's one of 2. So as far as I know, he's been put on the team. He doesn't have to make the team, and he'll leave Wednesday, and they'll be gone for about 3.5 weeks. He gets to go to Japan, play Cuba at home. It's going to be a great experience for him to be around those guys. And but his value. I mean, it's hard to say. You can't put a number on him because. Just his leadership skills, and guys gravitate to him. And you know, the funny thing is, we saw it as coaches, but we let the players vote on the captains. We thought we had him as a captain. The players kind of voted for some older kids, and you look back on it, Casey didn't play much as a freshman, so he made a huge jump, and we knew it was in there. He's a guy that I think a lot of guys respect, and he's fun to be around. He's funny. He's got a lot of personality to him.
Does Casey Martin project as a pro shortstop, and where will you continue to play him? Well,
I'm not scouting, and I'm not coaching in the big leagues, and I would say that Casey Martin would, if you're asking me, what I like him as, I think he can play short at this level. You know, I look at his errors. I was looking at him today because, you know, more than half of his errors were just errors that shouldn't have happened. Taking the ball out of his glove, throwing the ball high, throwing the ball low. You know, they're just errors that just shouldn't happen. And we were very fortunate that, you know, of all of his errors, only a couple of them probably came around and cost us or, you know, even scored. But his skills are off the charts as far as quickness and his arm strength. He really fielded the ball well, if you look at it. He made, honestly, twice as many errors as he should have, so if you cut him in half, he's as good as any shortstop in the country. That'll be his thing. He's just got to be better with the ball. I think in professional baseball, I think he'll play short. I think he'll play second. I think he could play center field. I think he can play anywhere. He can play third base. You know, you look at Alex Bregman and you go, well, I never would have projected Alex Bregman to be a third baseman in the big leagues. I figured he was going to be a second baseman because it's the old thing, you know, well, he's only 5'10", he weighs 185 pounds. Well, he feels like a shortstop at third base, and he's still hitting home runs. Casey's got every bit as much power as Alex Bregman does, and probably more to the pull side. But, you know, it's going to be about Casey's battle is obviously pitch selection. But he's an awfully good player.
With his errors, how many of those do you think are, you know, he gets the balls other guys don't get to?
There were a few of those.
Then he tries to make a play maybe that's just not there, you know?
Yeah, and that's just inexperience there. And, you know, coming out of high school, there were a lot of people would ask me, where are you going to play Martin? You going to put him in the outfield? And I said, no, I'm going to give him a chance playing the infield. When he got here, I felt like he was better than people gave him credit for as far as fielding the ball. And then he even got better. So we could put him at third. I mean, he'd be a great third baseman. As he showed as a freshman, he made some errors there, but his range to his left was ridiculous. We could play him on the line. He'd field balls, you know, that nobody else could get to. I don't know. You know, I just think that, you know, he needs to clean up a few things, know when he doesn't have a play, know when he needs to slow down. That's just part of development, and I think we're developing him. He's gotten a lot better. I mean, he's gone from undrafted to a projected first-round pick, and he's still projected there, even though he didn't hit 300 and he struck out too much and he made too many errors at short. But you can move him to other positions. It might relax him a little bit. But as of right now, he's penciled in to play short for us next year.
Dave, looking at your starting pitching, so if you got Wiglander and Nolan back, Bolden comes back, probably a starter, and then you just mentioned Cops. What about the incoming guy? Who's in the mix?
Well, there's a couple of them. I mean, I really don't want to mention their names because I know I'm going to leave somebody out, and then, somebody's going to say something, and then somebody's upset because I didn't mention them, and then somebody's calling me saying, well, they're not even mentioning my son. I'm thinking about going to junior college now, and we don't need that. We need these guys to show up, okay? There's some really good arms coming in. There's a local one right down the road, okay? Well, you can ask the name, but I'm not going to bring it up. If you guys can say what you want to say, and I'll try to answer the question, but I just don't want to not bring somebody up. If somebody asks me a question, I'll try to answer it as best I can. But there's some good armed kids around this area and coming in. We've got 2 or 3 kids from Texas that have a really good opportunity. And we need a guy like Caden Monk to make a move. We know we don't hit him. All fall we didn't hit him. His battle is throwing it over the plate more. He's got natural cut. He's skinny as can be. It's time to make a move. Put some weight on, get stronger. I mean, this is a kid that he's left-handed. We need that. And we've got a couple lefties coming in, so we'll see how it turns out. But who you want to know about?
You can't talk about Blake, though, right?
Blake who?
Adams.
Oh, Blake Adams. Yeah, Blake a pretty good player, isn't he? He's got a really good arm. He had some really good outings over the last few years. He's played at a high level of travel ball. Been in the state championship game the last 2 years, won the first one. The second one slipped away. Hit 7 home runs this year. I've seen him hit some balls a long way. I mean, he actually could swing the bat, and he's a good enough fielder. He could play corner outfield or play first base for you. It's hard to do both. We're going to let him do both in the fall, but there's no reason. I've seen his velocity fluctuate all over the map, from upper 80s to 93, 94. We hear about it. Sometimes then we go watch him pitch and it's 90. It's not all about the velocity. He's got a good curveball. I think he has a lot of confidence in it. I think when he gets with Coach Hobbs, I think consistently his fastball is going to stay 92 plus. I'm not going to say he's going to throw 98, but he's a big kid and he's getting bigger. I think when we get him, it's going to jump. So, I think that Blake Adams has a real opportunity to help us right away.
But Vermillion and Denton, kind of what are their plans?
Vermillion, he's had some issues, some health issues. We just want to get him 100% healthy where he can come out and have a good year. You've seen his velocity up to 93, 94, 95. Breaking ball still trying to figure that out a little bit. But it's time for Zeb to really make a move. I mean, we still see him as a middle of the game type guy for us. And who was the other one?
Denton.
Marshall Denton. He had some really good outings for us last year, and his velocity's gone up. Where he was submarine, he used to be around 80. Now he's like 85. Just got to be more consistent with his off-speed pitches. It's all about location and in sync with him. He gets the righties out without too much issue a lot of times when he pitches right. The lefties are the ones that he struggles with. But they both went out and played summer ball last year. As of right now, I think they're just kind of resting.
Martin and Kerstedt had great freshman year, I guess, up and down this year. What do you see their next jump? Talk about Opitz.
Well, I think both of those hitters, it's all about they've strike zone awareness. I mean, stop getting yourself out. I mean, it's funny because Heston had a good year. The guy had 17 home runs and he hit over 300, but people look at it like he didn't have a real good year. If his strike zone awareness and staying in the zone when he swings and quit getting himself out, man, he would make a huge jump. And if he can do that, it would be big. Basically, flip those walks and those strikeouts. Same with Martin. Martin needs to walk a lot more and strike out less. If he does, you're talking a guy that can hit in the upper threes, both of them, even in this league, because when they make contact, it's powerful. So I think the development for them, physically, they're both very strong. Heston will get stronger. So will Casey. It's just more about development, and that's seeing the ball and pitch recognition. And if they can do that, and they're going to take their walks, and they both walk 15 or 20 more times and strike out 15 or 20, 30 times less, could be special.
Yeah, I know you got a background with Team USA. Do you call them with guys on the team? Or do you call them?
They call me.
Do they call you?
They watch us. They watch every game.
South Carolina coach, he's the head coach, right? Or who's the head
No, it's Dan McDonald from Louisville.
Oh, okay. I guess
Yeah.
he's been busy, like he's been busy.
Yeah, but you know there's conference calls all the time. The group of coaches, Team USA personnel, and they're evaluating. They have video. They have people working. They've got every at bat, the good and the bad, and how they hit off of this guy that's throwing 95. How the lefties hit off the lefties. Can they hit a breaking ball against a lefty? There's a lot of input from professional scouts, GMs, because Team USA is very much funded by Major League Baseball. They don't want any conflict. That's why they only take kids that weren't drafted right now, that are holding out. They don't take those kids. They take kids that are draft eligible next year. And this way, those scouts can follow them around and, gather up 24 of the best college players in the country and really get an evaluation, a really good evaluation.
This season is officially not over. Still playing games this week, so not everybody's signed. But project next year.
Yeah.
You didn't think last year's team was in the fall or whatever was going to project what you think this team's really high ceiling?
The team coming up, the 20 season? Well, I think more than anything, it's about what we've been talking about a lot. It's about development. Guys got to continue to get better. I feel like that if guys like Martin and Kerstad and some of these kids can just relax and not let the draft get in the way mentally and just go out and play and get better, we'll have a really good year, because we've got some good kids coming back. We've got some 2 or 3 or 4 guys that we know that are going to help us, 2 or 3 or 4 freshman guys that can swing the bat, that I know that have a chance to get in the lineup or contribute as freshmen and maybe even start. I think there's going to be a lot more competition in the field. I think and I don't want to give away everything yet, but the biggest question mark is, who's going to fill some of those bullpen roles? I mean, we lost, Kostichuk and Scroggins, and obviously Cronin, who's been kind of a guy that you could depend on at the back of the game if we could get to it with the lead. And now it's time for some other guys to step up. But we have guys with good arms. It's just a matter of those guys being able to go out and do it.
Throwing strikes for young guys is...
Yeah, I mean, there's guys that throw strikes that don't have great stuff and they win. If you have great stuff and you throw strikes, it's a good combination. But we'll be very competitive. I just need to make sure everybody shows up. Like I said, we got like the Tomez kid out of San Antonio had a great year. He's a catcher. He can play another position if you need him to. He's drafted by Seattle. A couple other of those high school kids, if they've got to get here so we can we can see what we have. We get them all together, and I think offensively, we're gonna, if everything we think all comes together, we'll have a really good offense. And there's some guys, like I said, they're gonna have to battle to get in that lineup.
Are you planning to play the 2 fall exhibition games again?
Yes, and I haven't scheduled them yet. And as a matter of fact, if they're on our schedule, I probably won't play them. Example, UALR's on the schedule, so I don't know if we'll play them. Maybe try to play Oklahoma or Oklahoma State. I don't know yet. See how that works. And again, I would like to play one at home and probably one on the road, just to take some guys to a little bit of a different venue to see how tough it is. Oklahoma State, I don't think their new ballpark is completed yet. It'll be completed, I think, hopefully before their season. They're supposed to play in it. So that might be a team that maybe we can get to come over here because they need a place to play. I don't know. But that's on my list of to-do things. But you got to stay within a certain radius. You can't travel all over the world, I don't think, to play.
You're going to play in the Shriners event or the next year. Do you have other?
Yeah, I just got the information on that. I think we play like Baylor, OU, and Texas. Yeah.
With Coach Stammer, you said after he started every game as a freshman, you wanted to give him a break. This year, you said he's going to try to make Team USA or playing with the Cape Cod thing. Do you feel like he's older now, so it'd be better for him to play?
Yeah, after their sophomore year, a hitter like that, they need to see him. When I say they, professional people, and we're here to help these kids with the draft and develop him, obviously, give him an opportunity to make a little more money. He needs to go play with a wood bat somewhere and hit. So Team USA uses wood. They use wood in the Cape. So if he's with USA Baseball, when they get done, I think that's around the 20th of July. He'd have opportunity to go play another 2 weeks at the Cape, or just go home and we'll see how that goes, or just go to the Cape and play until beginning of August. And he's a guy as well that we won't wear him down in fall ball. We're going to try to build him back up a little bit.
Coach, Mike Martin retired. Now you're the active leader in College World Series appearances. What did you learn from Mike Martin's career as a coach?
Well, more than anything, just that, you can be a good guy. He's a good guy, and you can still win. I mean, he's tough, and he works them hard, but he does things the right way for the most part. Hopefully, I think he went like 18 times to the College World Series, never won a championship. I would take that. I would rather win a championship. But I don't know. I think we all learned from Coach Martin that you can stay at one place a long time. You just have to treat people right, and obviously you have to win. And, I do think that, and I mentioned this, I think in Omaha, I think the days of coaches being able to take a job at maybe age 35 and stay there until they retire at a school like Arkansas or Florida State, that's going to be rare. It just seems like it's getting tough. It's getting a little tougher to do something like that. So, pretty amazing career. I think he got married right after high school and drove to Tallahassee with his wife and never left. Yeah, it's a pretty amazing story.
Yeah, I think you said, you weren't going to be coach when you're 75. That's only 17 years from now. You don't think you're 58, right?
I don't know. I don't keep track. That might be what I am, but I feel like I'm pretty good right now. I feel
You don't
good.
want to go 17 more years.
I'm not going to coach till I'm 75. I'll tell you that right now.
Were you glad to see his son get the job there?
Yeah, I think he deserved it. He's been the one out recruiting and beating the bushes, put together a lot of those good teams for him or helped, and I think he deserves that opportunity. It's he earned it. I truly believe that. He could have left many a times over the last 10 years to take other jobs, but he didn't. So I think the reason he didn't leave was because they told him, if we keep doing well here, you're going to get this job, and I think he deserved it.
Tony got a big boost at Tennessee.
How big?
I think he's making $650.
How much was the boost? Was that? You say big.
I think it was a couple $100,000.
It wasn't that
It's not
much.
Dave Van Horn money, but it's good.
Get over it. Yeah, Tony and I talked about that stuff. He's got to stay there a few years to get all what you're talking about. Tony's doing good. Talked to him just the other day. We talk all the time. When Tony calls me, he always has an agenda. He's trying to find out about a player. So he can't fool me anymore. I got him. So we're good.
In our perspective, that's a big boost.
Yeah, it is a big boost. He deserved it. I mean, for what our league pays, and the time that you put in, and it's pretty amazing. But he did a great job this past year, 2 years, and Tennessee has had some issues over there keeping coaches and getting it right, and I think they feel good with where Tony's gotten the program, and they don't want him to run off, and they'll probably have to battle that over the next 10 years or however long they want to keep him, but good for him, good for them.
What's the next step in getting a third paid assistant? I mean, go well.
I don't know, that's unbelievable. Yeah, it's really sad that we're not sitting here talking about the new coach I'm trying to hire, or I've already hired, that starts August 1st, because that's what would have happened. The next step is hopefully they'll speed up the process. We don't have to wait another 2 or 3 years to vote on it again, because it'll pass now. Because we got to get the Big 12 ADs on board. We got to get maybe, I don't know if we'll ever get the Big 10 ADs on board. And then I think the ACC barely passed. I don't know. I mean, there's some things going on behind the scenes. I'm not all up on it, to be honest with you. Like I said earlier, you don't have to pay them. Just let them recruit. When I say you don't have to pay them, you can pay them $25,000 a year, give them some benefits. That's not really paying them, but at least they can go recruit. And then they can learn how to do things, and you can pay them $200,000 a year if you want. It's up to you, your university. You have a budget, do what you got to do with it. But it was just amazing that Jake Mangum, one of the last things he said just finished his career, which was an incredible career, and he brings it up in front of that audience there about the third paid coach, because he sees what these volunteers do. I mean, these guys are working just as much as we are, and then we can't pay them. And his volunteer guy might have been what really helped him develop, because the other coaches are out running around trying to recruit. Yet this volunteer coach can't get a job, and can't afford a car, or can't afford to live a certain way, and he's trying to keep everybody happy and their family. It gets a little difficult. So, I mean, it's a subject we could talk about for hours. And the big disappointment is just that I think some of the athletic directors that voted, they just selfishly just looked at their program and not everything. That's my opinion. And then, or they weren't informed or educated or didn't care enough to find out more about it. They just voted no.
And the coaches, you guys have obviously been up in arms about this, but do you think when a player says it at a forum like that, maybe it wakes people up a little bit more?
We're undercoached. We don't have enough coaches for the number of players that are on our roster. I mean, you look at different sports, and they got a coach for every 4 kids.
But I mean, when a player says it, do you think maybe
that should help. It should help.
Yeah.
I mean, and I don't know who told him to say it. I mean, I don't think the head coach told him to say it. I'd be shocked if he did. I mean, he seemed kind of shocked when he took the mic, and you're like, whoa, where'd this come from? And, I don't know. It's because they're probably feeling like there's not enough people to gather around all these players. That's the only thing that's what I see. So, but I appreciate him doing it, and I know it's been brought up again yesterday at the press conference, and both coaches talked about it, and Coach Corbin talked about it a lot and made some good points, and he feels strongly about it, obviously, if you listen to that.
Well, good.